Gabe Lullo, CEO of Alleyoop.io, all the way from New York, man. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Great, Wes. Big fan of yours. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to talk and dig into it. And yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Man, we're going to get into the whole basketball thing, but
Yeah.
I got to just jump into it. Follow my daily content on how to maximize your prospecting efforts. Fun fact, our high-tech SDRs execute over 7 million cold calls annually for our iconic global clients. Look, man, I see that gray hair. All right, I got the gray hair. We're just dinosaurs. Nobody calls anymore. You can't you can't reach decision makers. They're all work from home. They have gatekeepers. There's a thing, kind of like the internet, but there's a thing called artificial intelligence, Gabe. Why do you and I even exist? Shouldn't we just retire? Should we go work at Home Depot, maybe coach PE somewhere if a school would hire us?
Yeah. I mean, we shouldn't be talking. We should have our avatars just talk on this podcast. Like, what's the point of
Then
having
my AI will talk to your VA and they will discuss the KPIs and the ROI of the ROAS. Okay, never mind.
automate everything, right? Just automate everything.
Oh my gosh. So you make phone calls like humans?
Real humans, real phone calls. And yes, it still really works. Yeah. Our team right now, literally 7 million calls a year we're doing right now. We're actually, that's a little outdated. We're making a little bit more because we've grown over the last 90 days. So I got to update that. But yeah, a lot of phone calls, not the only channel, but by far the one that works the most effectively and the one that we rely on day in and day out to serve our clients the right way.
So who is coming to you? Are these people that have tried calling and weren't any good at it? Or maybe they tried other things and they're kind of floundering. Like, hey, maybe a human could work. Like, who's
Yeah,
finding you?
yeah, we attract three types of clients. Client one is they have a broken sales development channel right now. It's just not working. Numbers aren't, getting hit. Quotas aren't being attained, and there's something wrong. They still believe in it. It maybe worked for them in the past, but it's not working now. So they come to us to triage, fix, and build it. And then we attract companies that there's still a lot of companies out there, typically not SaaS companies. They figured out the SDR role pretty well, but outside of the normal SaaS tech industry that have never brought on SDRs. They're still relying on their sellers to do full cycle prospecting, and they want to implement the top of funnel lead generation. And then the third one are your more founder-led sales companies, the Shark Tank type companies of the world that really need to figure out how to build this from scratch with no expertise to them, and we come in and help build it from scratch for them.
Nice. So what are you finding though? Because I mean, things have changed. I mean, since COVID, things have changed.
Sure.
There are more people working from home. It is a little
Yep.
harder to find people. And there's always been gatekeepers and executive assistants, and there's so much noise. Like, I don't answer my phone unless
Right.
I know who's calling,
Exactly.
and so how does the phone work today?
Well, really, the phone is the way in which we want to kind of influence people into communicating with us. So we're still using the other channels, such as email, such as LinkedIn, such as sending, a voice note or a video note. But it's all to really guide them to a phone call because we know that's really where the action lives. So instead of sending, 3, 4 paragraph emails and pitch slapping everybody on LinkedIn, it's, hey, Wes, I sent you a note here on LinkedIn just so we can have a conversation over the phone. I have you at this number. I know, being on the phone is probably not something that you're used to, but would you be open to a 5-minute conversation with me, tell you why I'm calling? And that usually warms them up and gets them excited. And we still have about a 17% pickup rate. So the phone does work. It's just a matter of making sure you're not calling from a spam likely number, making sure you're calling the right number, and then using those other channels really to help say, hey, love to get on a phone call with you. It's not going to be a long phone call just to find out what you're up to and see what we're doing and see if it makes sense to continue the conversation. So that's how we're doing it and creating those conversations.
So is that a LinkedIn message that you're sending, or is that a voicemail you're leaving saying, hey, can we schedule a call? Or are you saying this if they pick up?
Yeah. So if they pick up the phone, we go right into it. But if it's a LinkedIn note that we're trying to get them on a phone call, they haven't picked up, or when we did attempt them, we want to let them know who we are and why we're calling, and then more schedule a phone call to have a 5-minute conversation and then get into a demo with our clients. So we're not looking to do demos ever. Our clients are the ones who are doing that. I mean, the whole concept of Alleyoop is the play on words, where we're setting it up and they're slamming dunking the conversations. And so, yeah, it's about getting the phone call started, either through a LinkedIn note, through an email, through a voice note, or just having them pick up the phone.
And so are your people leaving voicemails?
Yes, but strategically. We don't leave a voicemail every single time we make a phone call. That could be considered a little stalkerish, right? Especially if you want to call someone in the morning or maybe at a different time later today or tomorrow. But we do leave voicemails for sure. But they're short, they're sweet, they're personalized. They're not a pitch on the call, and they're really punchy to activate them to give us a call back. We do get callbacks for sure.
Punchy, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Now you must elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever gotten that voicemail where someone tells you why they're calling, and then, it's a 3-minute voicemail?
Yes.
And that's exactly what we don't want to do. We don't want them to judge or evaluate, what we're trying to offer them on a voicemail. We want it to be interactive. So quick and snappy is what we mean by that. Hey, here, this is who I am. This is my company. This is my intention for getting on the phone with you. I'll give you a call back later today or tomorrow if that works for you. And, give me a call back or shoot me a text and we can make it happen from there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're using a lot of text messages, not to solicit or not to reach out from the first one, but to coordinate a time to get on the phone.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, I get a lot of spam texts. How do
Yeah,
companies get away from that? Like, I report every single one, but
yeah,
I mean, 1 or 2 a day. It's like, how do they get away with that?
I know. A few years ago, the laws changed where they, because now everyone uses their phone as their main line, I guess, is the way in which they got at that to pass. But essentially, people are able to get away with it. At the end of the day, though, if you're on a do not call list or if you report it, they should not be calling you or texting you, I should say, anymore. But we don't do that. We're not going to just start sending blanket text messages,
Sure.
especially they're coming from weird numbers with weird links on it. It just looks spammy. We want it to be organic. We want it to be, conversational. And we say, hey, listen, what's the best way to communicate? And in almost every channel we when we're approaching a prospect, is we ask them, what is the best way? What's your communication of choice? What's your channel of choice? And whatever they tell us, we follow suit. And it's better that way. Hey, do you like doing LinkedIn back and forth direct messages? Do you like email? Do you like sending texts? Do you like talking on the phone? We're capable to do anything except for smoke signals. We're still trying to figure that one out. But at the end of the day, if they pick a channel, and we will stick to it, and we have better, more organic conversations because of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my son just yesterday was telling me about this platform. I won't say their name, but the guy's in real estate. We can talk offline, but he says this guy's using some kind of power dialer. He says he's changing his phone number every hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many damn phone numbers exist in the world? I mean, but now again, it's in real estate. They're calling like for sale by owners, things like that. So it's a little, I consider that business to consumer.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have to be that radical to?
Well, I will tell you, there's tools out there that allow you to make a significant amount of phone calls at scale with that type of technology. It's called, auto rotation. And there's other tools that are even more advanced than that allow AI to decide what number is actually the best number to attach to the outbound call that you're making in an automated fashion. But yeah, those are tools that are effective to prevent the spam likely from showing up on your caller ID. AT&T is the I don't want to say they're the worst, but they are the most notorious when it comes to filtering out high volume calls. But as blockers come up, there's going to be technology to solve for that. And there are 3 or 4 big companies right now that allow what they call parallel dialing, where you can just hit play, and instead of physically making phone calls or even doing click to phone call like we're now used to, You just hit play and it does all the work for you. And then
Yep.
as soon as you hear a tone, a person's on the other end waiting to talk. We do use some of that technology, and it is effective if you do it right and you're not just over calling people.
Yeah. And I understand like the need for that.
Yeah,
Because you're 17%. I mean, that's less than 1 out of 5. So
right.
the odds are in your favor. Dial. Does it just hang up as soon as they answer? If it goes to voicemail?
Yeah. So what happens is some of the calling campaigns we have where there is a voicemail built in where it leaves a message on the first attempt and then doesn't leave voicemails on the second, third, or fourth attempt for those reasons. You don't want to be calling people too many times or leaving too many messages. But yeah, there is definitely systems that you can put in place that allow you to pick and choose what amount of voicemails, how many voicemails, when they should be left, what are they saying on those voicemails. So the tools are pretty powerful right now.
Yeah. Well, and the lack of personalization, like, and I'm an old, jaded dinosaur. I get it, but I've been inside this for so long. I get my birthday was a couple weeks ago, and
Happy birthday.
I get a Facebook message from a guy, and it's a video,
Right.
right? But he doesn't say my name, so I know it's just he's just saved it. Because like, hey, I know today's your birthday, on a special day, I just want to say hi, and blah blah blah, go be great. And I'm like, okay, it's better than nothing. But I know now most people, like my mom wouldn't know that was pre-recorded.
Right.
My wife wouldn't know. I mean, they're just
Yeah,
sweet, naive people
sure.
that believe, that just trust everyone and believe everyone has a pure heart. I'm like,
Right.
no, I know this guy. And so, on the voicemail, hey, I'm trying to reach you. I mean, is that just the nature of the beast? Is that just the sacrifice you got to make to get the volume in to get the ROI?
Well, I look at it as, there's two ways to go to war, right? You can be sniper and very specific, or you can spray and pray. And, there's too many companies thinking spray and pray model is the way in which to do it, just high volume, but you don't get the quality. What our entire, value prop and why we do what we do is, that human to human interaction. So when I'm reaching out to people on LinkedIn that I connect with for the first time that I find interesting, I actually do things for them to see because there a lot of people are like you, very smart. They know what mail merges look like, right? And they know like what a template looks like. So I go overboard and sometimes, do things on purpose that I would never do. I spell things wrong. I don't capitalize everything I'm spelling. Like I make it look like a human wrote it on purpose. My mom was an English teacher, so she gets mad at me when I tell her these things. But at the end of the day, like I want them knowing, hey, I wrote this. And I try to go as far as using voice notes because there is no automation tools yet that has allowed for native LinkedIn voice notes to be automated. And most people know that. So it really creates the human interaction. And again, I don't voice note everything, but just to get the conversation going, I think that is the most authentic way to do it. And yes, it's going to be lower volume, but you're going to be talking to the right people, and hopefully that message resonates and cuts through the noise that you said, and is very much true that's happening.
Yeah. On this 17%, why are 83% not being reached? Have you found, is it harder since COVID? Like, are more people kind of hiding behind their cell phones? There's no operator, things aren't being routed, like what's
Yeah.
evolved the last few years and where's
Well, I
it
think a
headed?
big problem is the data is really being, just a commodity at this point. Back in the day, data companies, and nothing against them. We have a lot of partners, and we're very, very big advocates and allies with all the best data companies out there. But it's not their fault. I mean, to your point, it's very challenging right now to find out who people are and what their contact information is. Even though we have the best and most robust information out in the world, it's still more challenging to have it be as accurate as it needs to be. So I think the big problem that we see is just inaccuracies with data, and a lot to do with that is mobile numbers. Everyone's not in office anymore. It's much more challenging to connect to a main line and get routed to the right person. So data has been a big issue for all companies to figure out who those people are and what their numbers are. So that is a big reason. of course, people not picking up the phone, and also, of course, people, seeing a lot of spam coming across their desk. They're just, less interested in picking up the phone. But yeah, that's what, that's I think the part of the game on why we have to, look at all the channels as opposed just to the phone as the only one.
Yeah. Do you coordinate like this multimedia approach? Will you like handle direct mail for them, or do you keep it at digital?
Yeah, so we do direct mail campaigns for sure. There is campaigns that make sense for that to happen, where more of a product driven type companies, companies that are more for repeat business. We don't really like doing direct mail that's net new. It's more for existing clients and updating them, brochures and different clients that have some sort of product and a bunch of SKUs. Direct mail has always been successful. We do that for sure.
All right, I may have someone for you. So
Okay.
this is good. We're talking
Yeah,
because I mean I'm a big proponent multimedia, multi-step,
100%.
um, and I haven't used the big power dialers like that. So I've traditionally worked with smaller companies and much more of a laser approach.
Yeah,
Kind of the old Chet Holmes ultimate sales machine.
right.
Pick 100, 150, maybe 200, depending on the size of the company, and assign them to salespeople. You remember Anthony Parinello selling to Vito? You ever read
Yeah.
those?
Yeah. I mean,
Y-
Chet's amazing, right? Like he talks a lot about, the buyer market, right? Like there's only 3% that are actually purchasing or willing to purchase at this moment. So I think that's where the SDR function is significant. Is it's not just about booking meetings, booking meetings, booking meetings. It's all about, finding out the timing of when prospects are truly interested. And, that's what our focus is finding out timing. Like we want to, timing is everything in business. I think a lot of companies forget about that. And so it's all about determining and measuring the timing of someone's interest in evaluating and open to evaluate what it is that solution may be.
Yeah. You say like you don't like direct mail for net new. Is that? Can you elaborate on that? Because I like it for net new.
Yeah.
When done right, but I mean, I know how to do it. Done it a long time.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that?
I don't dislike it. I just find it to be more robust when you know that the customer's address, like same thing with phone numbers, right? If you are sending out a lot of mailers and that those mailers aren't being read, just like phone calls aren't being picked because people are home and people are not in office. That's what we've seen really more recently since COVID as a big blocker for direct mail. So what we found is, make sure that we're sending it to people that we know are going to receive it. We find that to be a better return on investment. And usually that's for repeat business or existing customers or upselling opportunities.
Yeah. On the voicemail side, I mean, I can see when you're doing like such volume, it's hard to personalize. But like going back to Anthony Parinello, I'm a big fan of specific message. Each email kind of touching on a value proposition, right? A key benefit, and then a voicemail that reinforces that email.
Exactly.
And I guess, I mean, obviously if it's pre-recorded, you can merge it and time it. But I like, I've taught everybody, leave a voicemail message, but make it
100%.
unique.
Right.
Not just, hey Gabe, man, you're a hard guy to reach. I'm just following up. I
Right.
sent you the catalog, about a week ago, and you were no show in the webinar, and okay, well, call me. Okay, have a good day. I mean, that's a typical voicemail. I'm like, I ain't
Yeah.
calling that guy back.
Ever. Right. 100%. Well, one, the tonality and the attitude is bad to
Yeah.
the point where it doesn't matter what you're saying. You could be giving away $1 million and they're not going to be interested. Right. But to your
Right.
point, like I'm all about, again, it's all about touches, right? You got a salesperson has to look at it like from a marketing standpoint. You have to be on brand with all of the prospecting channels that you're reaching out to. Your voicemail should resonate with the phone call you made, with the voice note you made, with the email message you made, with the mailer you sent, with all of the things that you're doing to get a hold of somebody. All needs to resonate and all needs to be aligned and all needs to be, on message. and intertwined and referencing, right? I know there's a lot of agencies, there's a lot of companies that use, different teams for different prospecting channels, and it's a cluster, if you will. There's specific teams sending out email, there's teams sending out phones, there's teams sending out LinkedIn. No one's talking to each other, and that's when you start getting into like clients, active clients getting prospected still from companies they signed contracts with 6 months ago. And so what we do is, yes, it's more work, and yes, you have to have a better, more experienced and trained rep to do it. But we invest in that because we feel it's important that the SDR runs all of the channels on their desk, right, to that same prospect. So they're not having overlap channels prospecting them and hitting them in different angles, because it's never going to be organized enough where mishaps happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I call it, actually one of my on-demand sales course is called Make Every Sale. But the concept is, when I elaborate, I say to make any sale, you must make every sale.
Yeah.
Every touch point, every stage of the interaction, it's a tiny close. Can I get them to open the email? Can I get them to read it? Can I get them to reply? Can I get them to book an appointment? Can I get them to show up to the appointment? I mean, each of those, you got to make every sale.
Exactly.
People don't think about it. They don't, small hinges swing big doors. It's like, I need AI. No, you just got to be a better human. Like, you're terrible on the phone. You're terrible in person. The tonality, everything else. Like, people always want that silver bullet, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't exist. I think the silver bullet is to just get better. You know what I mean? And just to just level up. I think the problem right now, and that's why I'm such a huge fan of yours, is because we're noticing companies are coming to us because their account executives are saying the reason why I'm not getting quota and closing deals is because we don't have enough meetings. Well, then they hire us, and then we fill their calendars and book all these demos for these account executives. But at the end of the day, they're not closing deals. And so the problem that they were saying that was happening has been fixed, but the problem still exists. And the big reason I think that's the case is because, over the last few years, there's been turbulence in the marketplace for sure, but there was a big boom before that. And a lot of people were hired, and they've been relying on low-hanging fruit to always keep hitting their quota. And now that things are less of low-hanging fruit and a little bit more of a drought, they're not at the level they need to be to just do what they're supposed to be doing. They're just not skilled enough, frankly. So I think training is so much more valuable now than ever before to level up all these account executives, full-time sellers.
Yeah.
We don't sell training, so that's a plug for those trainers out there. But I don't sell training, but I will tell you that our CEOs are asking us all the time, hey, what do you advise? Because we don't have a meeting problem anymore. You fix that. We have a closing problem now. So yeah, that's happening for sure.
Yeah, totally. I got a client right now, a big tech client, and there's one of these AI outbound gurus, messaging. You talk about like trying to make it look personal. It even said sent from my iPhone.
Right.
And this kid, he's overseas, but according to his website, he's in Thailand right now with the laptop lifestyle, but he had a nice offer. Like you're saying, he's literally like kind of offering $1 million in a money back guarantee. And I told my client after the call, I said, there's really no risk in trying this. He was only charging like $4,000,
right,
with a money back guarantee. And I'm like, there's no risk. But he was so bad on the phone. Like when we got on the call, he was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
All of us on the call, when we were done, we're like, was that like a bad opening and just kind of mishandled? And everyone, and these are like super nice guys. Some of them are Canadian, so they're like extra nice. And they were all like, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. It's funny because, in our space, anyone who says they can cold call can be in our industry. And so the barrier of entry to come into our industry is literally non-existent.
Yeah.
And there are thousands of companies that claim to do what we do because of that. And so, the cool part about our business is that anyone could do it. The bad part is that anybody could do it. And
Yeah.
so we've been dealing that for 15 years, but when we deal with companies that come to us to have like a bad taste in their mouth or a stigma or hesitation, it's usually because they went through a scenario like you just mentioned, and we go above and beyond to alleviate that hesitation.
Yeah.
I'll give you two things we do. One is all of our reporting with our clients are fully transparent, so they see under the hood of what our reps are doing into all the recorded calls. Now, they're hiring us to do the job, not for them to inspect everything, but they can if they want to.
Sure.
And for the meetings that are booked, they need those notes, and I love for, to know what the initial call was before I get into a demo. So we share all of the call recordings with all of our clients, with all of our meetings that we book. So that's huge. Secondly, our reps are fully dedicated to our client. So they're not sitting on 25 different clients in a call center somewhere. You know what I mean? They are living and breathing and eating and sleeping that brand of that client, and they know them. They meet them. They're involved in interacting with them throughout the entire process, even before they're assigned to that client. So they truly feel like they're an extension of their client's team, which is unique to us and only a few companies that do that.
So that brings up a good point. Like who should call you? So is it somebody if they need like a full-time 40-hour person, or could they be a part-time 20-hour, but they're still just dedicated to me?
Yeah, so we do have fractional resources. The limitation, though, you actually mentioned is 20. We don't go anything less than that.
Okay.
It's just too much for the rep to be living
Sure.
in two worlds throughout their week. It's just lowers the quality, frankly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
as low as half a resource, which is 20 hours a week. And then we can go as big as 20, 30, 40 person teams. So that's how we do what we do.
Yeah. I am a stickler for the voice. It was maybe a week ago, 2 weeks at most. I was watching a webinar, and it was a good webinar, and the guy did a good job. And it really wasn't even a webinar; it was more like an open Q&A.
Yeah.
And I used the product. I like the product. I like the guy, but he would not mute himself when he was taking a sip of water. Right? So
Yeah.
go chug like ice, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So hearing background noise, hearing people eating, and super strong accents. I mean, I to this day I have overseas people working for me,
Sure.
and me speaking with them, it's fine. They have an accent, great. Their English is better than my Tagalog, better than my Romanian. So, but in sales, if we're on the phone,
Yeah.
and I have to listen. If I have to struggle to listen, I just immediately am shut down.
Sure.
Is that the norm, or am I just a jackass? Maybe both.
You're not. And a lot of people, tiptoe around this because they feel like it's not, appropriate, or maybe listen, it's nuances, right? Like, our job is to speak, the language of the marketplace in which we're calling, and of course to be accurate and clear and articulate as possible, especially with high level executives who are very, very A-type personality individuals, right? So, when we're interviewing people, when we're hiring people, we're a global company, but what we do is we assign our reps to the marketplaces in which they're targeting. So if our reps are looking to target into the UK and to Europe, we're going to hire people with UK accents that are living in that area, that live in that time zone, so they feel good and helped and excited to go to work every day, instead of working at 3 or 4 in the morning in a different part of the world. So
Yeah.
same thing with Australia, same thing with Latin America, same thing with the US. So, our reps, majority of our reps, 80% of them live in the US. The remaining live all around the world for the reasons that our clients are targeting those markets. And we think those nuances, those cultural nuances are super authentic. I can get, like, before we get on this call, you and I were just chatting it up a little bit about your area, where you live and where I live. And, that's important. And that is part of the cold calling experience. So we definitely feel the same way you do.
Yeah. Cool. So, what's up with the basketball reference, man? Is that like your passion?
It's funny, like, I'm not a diehard basketball follower like most people would think, because, I'm leading a company that is very basketball focused, but it's really just the gamification of the entire sales process. We're highly competitive. We love sports. We love competition. We love sales and gamifying the entire process. And really, the word Alleyoop came to us in a conference room one day, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna," and we actually had it as an internal thing, like, "I'm gonna Alleyoop you a few appointments," right? And so when we started talking about it as a verb in our normal course of work internally, we thought, "Hey, that'd be a really cool way to brand the company, because everyone kind of gets it. And so that's essentially why we did it. But we have gone extremely deep into the weeds with the basketball reference. We have teams internally. We named them the Alleyoop Mavericks, the Alleyoop Bulls, the Alleyoop Lakers. So
Yeah.
internally we have a lot of fun. We call our leaders team captains, and so head coaches. So it's a lot of fun internally, but it definitely has been a great reference and analogy for us.
Yeah. That's cool. What is your take on cold email?
Yeah.
So I've been asking that. This came across, I had a guy on last year, and it struck me as odd, but he's a young guy, so he's having success, bleeding edge, and I'm hearing more people touting it. But again, with the client I'm working with, we have not had a lot of success. He's had 2 different companies on 2 different platforms, and now I'm helping him with Apollo. It's a great database. Apollo is an amazing tool. Just
Sure.
the sequences, like, man, like, where's this been my whole life? Just as a CRM and just managing your prospecting. But
Yeah.
the whole kind of like the phone number thing, right? You gotta spoof your email address and all this. Like, again, am I a jackass? Am I an old dinosaur? It just feels dirty to me.
Yeah, exactly. So Apollo is a great company. We work with Apollo. We were just featured on one of their takeovers recently. We're a big fan of theirs, and we do utilize their technology and tools, and they're great people over there. But I will tell you that you're right. I mean, there's things that you're going to need to do in order to do it the most effective way. I do feel like out of anything, out of all the channels that are out there to communicate, if any of them that are struggling the most is definitely email. I'd rather make a phone call all day long than send out an email when it comes to effectiveness. Now, I also think that email, with the new rules and regulations with Yahoo and Google and Microsoft, it's harder and harder and harder to land in the inbox. But even if you do, it's harder and harder and harder to get people's attention. I don't know about yours, but I'm, archiving 80% of my emails every day because it's just irrelevant stuff. And that's the point. It's about relevancy. There's a lot of, we say personalization, but we never really kind of talk about relevancy a lot of the time. And that's really where it needs to be. It's not about being personalized. It's about being relevant. I don't care what college I went to. If you went to the same college as me, no offense, like, I don't really care. It was a great school, but unless you and I were in the same class, it's not really relevant to be in my email. So at the end of the day, it's like, why are you talking to me? Why can you help me? And why do I should be calendaring 30 minutes with you? If that isn't punchy, quick, and concise in an email, it's going to go into the spam folder. So I think that's the problem with email, is that it's, people are writing bigger and bigger and bigger emails, and it becomes less and less interesting. So people have to figure that out.
Cold-hearted, man.
All right.
Goal-oriented, task-oriented, slave driver. That's why I like you, man.
Yeah, it's the New
Nice.
York attitude, I guess. We're very direct. It works well. Not everyone loves it, but some people do. But I can tell you it's effective. And again, it's just human to human. We always ask ourselves is, if that email came to me, would you respond? If that cold call came to me, would you respond? If that LinkedIn note came to me, would you respond? That's what we ask ourselves every time we do anything.
Yeah.
If it was sent to me, what would you do with it? And if it's, it's common sense. If it's not, well, you're probably not should be putting it in your channel.
All right. So we're about to wrap this up. But stay on, because I've got a funny story of my New Jersey brother-in-law taking my Mobile, Alabama stepsister to Jersey for the first time.
Oh boy.
And includes an F-bomb. So I try to leave those off of these episodes, but it's funny. And it doesn't have the punch without it. Oh my gosh. I tell that story all the time. But All right. So it's Alleyoop. So Alleyoop. Is that how it's normally spelled, like in basketball?
Yeah, some people hyphenate it, but yeah,
I
we
guess
love
I've
a
never looked
full
it
word.
up.
Yeah, alley-oop. That's it.
Alleyoop.io. So very cool. And I do have a potential prospect for you. So we can talk about that when we hang up here.
Sounds good.
But anything I missed? I'm linking in the show notes to your LinkedIn. So I'm looking at that here. So folks want to reach out to you, they can. You're open to that.
Yeah, I'm hyper responsive on LinkedIn. I post every day, and hopefully, whether we connect or not through a direct message, hope you like my content, and love to have you engage. But if you have any questions, send me a direct message, and we'll get in touch.
Sounds good. All right, Gabe Lullo, Alleyoop.io. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been great.
Thanks, Wes. Always a pleasure.